When news broke on July 20, 2025, that Malcolm-Jamal Warner, beloved actor, director, poet and musician, had tragically passed away at the age of 54, it sent a shockwave across the world. For millions, the name Malcolm-Jamal Warner wasn't just synonymous with Theo Huxtable from The Cosby Show. He was a symbol of depth, resilience, and quiet brilliance who evolved far beyond the character that made him a star in the 1980s. His death, caused by accidental drowning in the deceptively powerful rip currents off Costa Rica's Caribbean coast, came not only as a heartbreak but also a moment of sobering reflection. What remained was not just the memory of a young actor who grew up before the world's eyes, but the quiet revelation of the multidimensional man he became. A man whose estate, works, and impact were more profound than many ever realized. In the days following his passing, tributes flooded in from fellow actors, musicians, poets, and fans across generations. They didn't just mourn his death, they celebrated his evolution, from child star to Renaissance man, from a sitcom favorite to a Grammy-winning artist and poetic voice for mental health, black culture, fatherhood, and vulnerability. Malcolm-Jamal Warner had, in his own words, spent a lifetime trying to be a good person who uses his creativity to elevate others. But what truly leaves people speechless isn't just the tragedy of his passing, it's what we learned about him after. Through interviews, unpublished works, music unreleased in his lifetime, personal letters, podcast recordings, and memories shared by those closest to him, we uncover a deeper, richer story. One of lost love, quiet suffering, artistic rebirth, family devotion, and the startling truths about the man who had never sought the spotlight, but had always quietly reshaped it. This video dives deep into the soul of a man the world thought they knew. We journey through the unforgettable story of Malcolm-Jamal Warner's life, loss, legacy, and the intimate discoveries that came to light after his death. From his humble New Jersey beginnings to a final, reflective podcast just weeks before the tragedy, this is a story not of mystery, but of meaning. And what they found that will leave you speechless. Before Malcolm-Jamal Warner would become an Emmy-nominated actor, a Grammy-winning poet, and a voice of cultural introspection, he was simply Malcolm, an only child being raised by his determined single mother in the heart of Jersey City, New Jersey. Born on August 18, 1970, Malcolm's name was a deliberate act of identity. His mother named him after two people who symbolized power and artistry: Malcolm X, the firebrand activist and orator, and Ahmad Jamal, the jazz pianist known for subtle complexity. That name alone forecast the kind of life he would come to live, one rooted in purpose, rhythm, and transformation. From a very young age, Malcolm showed signs of being special. He wasn't just curious, he was observant. His mother, Pamela Warner, noticed her son had a quiet intensity. Where other children would run wild, Malcolm would sit and watch, analyzing the world around him. He memorized commercials, reenacted characters from TV, and seemed to understand adult emotions far beyond his years. Pamela, a literacy advocate and fiercely independent woman, made a bold decision. She would do whatever it took to give her son a future far greater than the streets of Jersey City could offer. That meant moving to Los Angeles when Malcolm was just 5. It was a seismic change, but one Pamela believed was necessary. She enrolled him in acting classes and surrounded him with opportunities for growth. Malcolm didn't resist it, he thrived. He began performing in school plays, and by the time he was in his early teens, he was landing small roles in shows like Matt Houston, Fame, and Call to Glory. These appearances didn't make him a star, but they were vital in sharpening his skills, teaching him about presence, timing, and control. By 1984, the big moment arrived. At age 13, Malcolm auditioned for a brand new NBC sitcom, The Cosby Show. Producers were seeking someone to play Theo Huxtable, the only son in a fictional upper-middle-class black family led by a doctor and lawyer. Hundreds of boys came in for the part. Some were too theatrical, others too stiff. But when Malcolm walked into the room, something shifted. His natural charisma, comedic instincts, and calm confidence immediately impressed Bill Cosby, who handpicked Malcolm personally for the role. The decision changed not only Malcolm's life, but the cultural landscape of American television. Suddenly, the kid from Jersey City was front and center in a show that would reach millions of homes every week, helping redefine how black families were seen on TV. As Theo, Malcolm portrayed a teenager with real struggles, academic difficulties, insecurity, a desire for independence, but also a profound heart. He became relatable, not just to black youth, but to all teenagers facing the awkward, frustrating, and exhilarating moments of growing up. But while the world saw Theo, Malcolm was building something deeper, a foundation of professionalism, humility, and self-awareness. He never let fame intoxicate him. Pamela Warner, who acted as both his mother and manager, kept him grounded. She homeschooled him on set. She taught him the value of saving money, staying humble, and continuing to learn. Where many child stars burned out or became casualties of success, Malcolm was being quietly prepared to outlast it all. As The Cosby Show dominated ratings and pop culture in the mid to late 80s, Malcolm remained calm under pressure. He made no tabloid headlines, threw no tantrums, and asked for no special treatment. His colleagues often said he was more mature than people twice his age. And when the show won multiple Emmys and became a cultural touchstone, Malcolm took it all in with quiet gratitude. But even as the world embraced Theo, Malcolm was slowly but surely becoming someone else, an artist who wanted to do more than just act. He wanted to direct. He wanted to write. He wanted to speak his truth, not just play a role. In hindsight, the boy from Jersey City who had memorized TV scripts on the floor of his mother's apartment was never just playing pretend. He was preparing for a lifetime of purpose. With The Cosby Show skyrocketing into the cultural stratosphere, Malcolm-Jamal Warner's face became one of the most recognizable on television. As Theo Huxtable, he helped humanize the Black American experience for audiences around the world. But behind the charm and relatability of his character, Malcolm began to sense the weight that fame carries, especially for young Black performers. At just 15, Malcolm was being approached by fans everywhere, thrust into the public eye in a way few teenagers ever experience. While his castmates, including Bill Cosby and Felicia Rashad, formed a protective family around him, Malcolm faced a complex internal battle. He was grateful for the opportunity, yet quietly aware that he was being seen more for the character he played than the person he truly was. He once reflected in an interview, "Theo was lovable and flawed, and people wanted me to be like him. But I was growing up in ways that Theo couldn't." It was during these years that Malcolm began writing poetry, a deeply personal escape from the scripted nature of television. His notebooks became filled with verse that explored identity, family, loss, and ambition. While others partied, he retreated to his thoughts, using poetry as both a mirror and shield. At age 17, he made a bold decision: he wanted to direct. He studied behind-the-scenes production on The Cosby Show set, watching every camera angle and edit. Eventually, Cosby gave him a shot. Warner directed episodes of the show and gained invaluable experience that would guide his creative life for decades. As the show ended in 1992, Malcolm stood at a crossroads. Fame had come early, but now, what would he do with it? He chose the road less traveled, authenticity over applause. The 1990s were a time of reinvention for Warner. Many assumed he'd fade into obscurity, a common fate for child stars. But he surprised everyone by co-creating and starring in the UPN sitcom Malcolm and Eddie, 1996 to 2000, alongside comedian Eddie Griffin. The show centered around two mismatched roommates, a responsible business-minded Malcolm and the wild, unpredictable Eddie. Their chemistry was electric, and the show became a hit within urban communities. Unlike the polished, upper-middle-class world of The Cosby Show, this series had grit, slang, laughter, and edge. Warner used it as a platform to challenge stereotypes, especially the notion that former child stars couldn't evolve. But the show wasn't just acting, it was ownership. Malcolm had creative control and used the opportunity to learn more about production, screenwriting, and casting. Behind the scenes, he was building an empire of experience, all while keeping his name free from scandal. Outside of TV, he dove deeper into music. He learned bass guitar, studied at Berklee College of Music, and began performing spoken-word poetry in Los Angeles clubs. His performances weren't lighthearted. They addressed racial injustice, mental health, police brutality, and the quiet pain of being misunderstood. While his earlier fame had cast a long shadow, Malcolm was learning to shine on his own terms. Though his public image was squeaky clean, Malcolm-Jamal Warner's personal life was marked by a mix of passion and heartbreak. In the mid-1990s, he famously dated fellow child star Michelle Thomas, who played his girlfriend on The Cosby Show and later his on-screen wife on Malcolm and Eddie. Their relationship, though private, was deeply rooted in mutual respect and shared experiences. When Michelle was diagnosed with a rare form of cancer, desmoplastic small round cell tumor, Malcolm stood by her side. She passed away in 1998 at just 30 years old, with Malcolm and her mother by her side. The loss devastated him. He would later describe Michelle as the love of my life, and admitted in rare interviews that her death changed him profoundly. He became more introspective, more focused on spiritual health, and more driven to use his art for emotional connection. Her loss became a recurring theme in his poetry and music, a wound that never fully healed but fueled his creativity. In the years following, Malcolm kept his romantic life extremely private. Though he would later marry and have a daughter, he never sought the limelight in his personal affairs. For him, love was sacred, and loss had made him careful. In the 2000s, while Hollywood was still chasing flashy names and fast fame, Malcolm found solace in music and poetry. He formed the band Miles Long, a jazz-funk fusion group that allowed him to express his rhythm and roots in ways acting never could. His debut album The Miles-Long Mixtape, 2003, was followed by Love and Other Social Issues, 2007, a poetic exploration of Black love, identity, and injustice. Unlike most celebrity music ventures, Malcolm's work wasn't manufactured. It was soulfully raw, filled with the kind of lyrical depth that could only come from someone who'd lived, lost, and learned. He performed regularly at spoken-word events and even founded his own poetry showcases in Los Angeles. His words weren't just lyrical, they were often political. He wrote about Trayvon Martin, about the death of his friend Michelle Thomas, about anxiety, fatherhood, and hope. In 2015, Malcolm won a Grammy Award for Best Traditional R&B Performance on the song Jesus Children, collaborating with Robert Glasper Experiment and Layla Hathaway. It was a high honor, not for a commercial hit, but for a tribute to the children lost in the Sandy Hook tragedy. The win validated everything he had built since his teen years. He was no longer just Theo Huxtable. He was Malcolm-Jamal Warner, a man of art, purpose, and voice. As Malcolm-Jamal Warner's acting career flourished again in the 2010s, he began speaking more openly about one of the most overlooked issues within the Black community, mental health. Long before it became a trending topic in Hollywood, Malcolm was challenging the silence, using his poetry, interviews, and podcasting efforts to break through long-standing cultural stigmas. He often reflected on how pain, from childhood pressures, loss, and societal expectations, had shaped him. In a moving performance at a spoken-word event in 2017, he said, "They said we were strong, but never asked how tired we were from always being strong." The piece went viral within creative circles and was later published in his poetry collection Hiding in Plain View. In 2023, he launched a podcast titled All Hood, which he described as a sanctuary for the voices we suppress. The show tackled everything from fatherhood and depression to toxic masculinity, identity crisis, and love after trauma. He invited therapists, artists, and educators, and brought an uncommon depth to every episode. Malcolm didn't want to be a celebrity host, he wanted to be a bridge. His openness about seeking therapy after the death of Michelle Thomas, navigating fame-induced anxiety, and even coping with professional rejection resonated deeply. Black men, often taught to bottle emotion, saw in Malcolm a role model for vulnerability and balance. He wasn't lecturing, he was healing out loud. Though Malcolm-Jamal Warner was deeply public through his art, he remained intensely private in his personal life. After the tragedy of Michelle Thomas's death, he refrained from discussing relationships for years. Fans speculated about various romances, but Malcolm kept his heart off social media and out of tabloids. It wasn't until 2017 that he confirmed he had quietly married and become a father to a daughter. "Fatherhood changed everything," he said in a 2022 interview. "It's made me more patient, more present, more grateful." He never disclosed his wife's name and refused to share his daughter's image online, a decision rooted in his own childhood spent under the lens of millions. He wanted to give them what he never had: anonymity, security, peace. Still, glimpses of his joy would leak through his poetry. "In Midnight Lullaby," he wrote, "she wraps her arms slash like wind wraps trees, slash not to crush, but to keep them slash from forgetting how to sway." Those closest to him described him as a doting, goofy, and intensely present father. He walked away from projects that would take him overseas for too long, and insisted that any set he worked on respect family time. As he grew older, Warner's legacy wasn't just his work, it was the quiet beauty of how he lived as a father and husband. By 2022, Malcolm-Jamal Warner had done what many actors never manage: a second act. But instead of chasing blockbusters, he focused on intimate creation. His final major project was a spoken-word album titled Hiding in Plain View, which earned a 2023 Grammy nomination. The title was no accident. "All my life, people saw Theo," he said in promotion for the album. But Theo was a role. Malcolm's been right here, writing, loving, grieving, growing. The album tackled decades of emotion: the pain of watching Black men die on camera, the exhaustion of fame, the eternal ache of lost love, and the joy of fatherhood. It was sparse, raw, and powerful. One poem, "Time is a Liar," became an instant classic. Time heals nothing. It just teaches you how to stop picking the same wound. The project was recorded live, with minimal editing, and accompanied by upright bass and soft piano. Warner's voice, aged, rich, contemplative, commanded the room like a jazz solo. It was his soul on vinyl. Critics hailed it as Malcolm's masterwork, and while he didn't win the Grammy in 2023, he called the nomination the win I never expected but always needed. He was preparing to tour small venues in 2025, to bring the poems to intimate stages across the US. He would never get the chance. In early July 2025, Malcolm-Jamal Warner traveled to Costa Rica for a short vacation. Close friends say he had just finished recording season 2 of All Hood, had turned down a film role to spend time with his wife and daughter, and was planning a poetry tour titled Black Voice, Bare Soul. He chose Costa Rica for its beaches, tranquility, and disconnect from celebrity noise. He stayed in Puerto Viejo de Talamanca, a serene town on the country's Caribbean coast, known for Afro-Caribbean culture and breathtaking surf. On Sunday, July 20, 2025, he went swimming near Cockles Beach, a location known for its beauty, but also for its strong rip currents. That day, there were no lifeguards on duty, and a combination of weather and tide made conditions unusually dangerous. Around 2:40 p.m., witnesses say they saw Warner waving for help. Locals and bystanders rushed in, pulling him from the water with assistance from the Costa Rica Red Cross. Despite efforts to resuscitate him, Malcolm was pronounced dead at the scene at 3:22 p.m. He had died from asphyxia by submersion. He was just 54 years old. The news hit with the force of a tsunami. Social media erupted in disbelief. Headlines blazed across networks. Friends, colleagues, and fans began posting tributes, many of them weeping through words. The boy America had watched grow up was gone. And what followed next was as moving as it was devastating. Within hours of the official confirmation of Malcolm-Jamal Warner's death, the entertainment world stood still. Tributes poured in from every corner of culture. Bill Cosby, still under public scrutiny and legal fallout, posted a rare and emotional message: "It's like hearing of my own son's death again. Malcolm was not only brilliant, he was moral. I grieve with the world." Felicia Rashad called him a son in spirit and a beacon of grace. Beyoncé changed her official website homepage to a black and white photo of Warner with the message, "Rest in power, Brother Malcolm." Angela Bassett wrote, "You never craved the spotlight, but the light craved you. Walk on, King." Viola Davis, Courtney B. Vance, Jamie Foxx, Tracy Ellis Ross, and dozens more shared tearful memories of a man who made everyone feel seen. Even younger stars like Zendaya, Trevor Noah, and Kendrick Lamar paid tribute. For many, Malcolm wasn't just an actor. He was a cultural compass, guiding quietly, fiercely, and faithfully. The funeral was held in Los Angeles in a private ceremony attended by family, select friends, and former co-stars. No cameras were allowed. In one of the final messages from his wife, she shared, "He loved without limits, created without ego, and lived as if every word mattered." Malcolm died as he lived, with grace, depth, and the ocean near his feet. In the weeks after Malcolm-Jamal Warner's death, fans expected scandal or secret revelations. Yet instead, what emerged was a mosaic of intimate humanity from his personal estate. His wife and literary executor discovered 3 hand-bound journals, dating from 2020 to 2025, filled with poetry drafts, letters to his daughter, reflections on grief, and essays on purpose. These pages revealed his continuing struggle to reconcile fame with authenticity, heartfelt apologies to family for missed moments on set, private affirmations, "I choose to be present, and I choose to heal." A trove of voice memos, many recorded during long drives between podcast recordings, showed Warner's raw self-expression. In one, he muses, "Fatherhood saved me. My daughter is why I exist after Theo." Others had him reciting early poetry before polish, preserving his creative growth. In his home studio, a folder labeled Black Voice, Bare Soul Tour contained 12 fully arranged tracks, spoken word set to minimalist jazz arrangements. Collaboration notes included conversations with Layla Hathaway and Robert Glasper on a possible sequel to Jesus' Children. These findings painted not a superhuman, but a story of an endlessly evolving artist and devoted father, still building legacy when he died. Just 2 days before his death, on July 18, 2025, Malcolm recorded the final episode of Not All Hood. That episode, dissecting Black excellence alongside poet Tamika Georgia Harper, became eerily prophetic. He expanded, saying Black excellence had become tied to fame and wealth, but that endurance, culture, and survival, without selection by merit or privilege, were equally potent. These words were his quiet testament, an unfinished dialogue with the world. After the discoveries, the Warner estate released a series of carefully curated materials, selected journal entries, poetry, an excerpt of his album, and video clips from Not All Hood. The response was overwhelmingly poignant. Fans posted photos of the journals with quotations that resonated with grief, purpose, and growth. Poets and social workers said his vulnerability in discussing mental health inspired policy efforts in support groups and schools. Layla Hathaway confirmed plans to finish the unreleased recordings, ensuring Malcolm's creative archive lived on. The estimated proceeds from his final album and book are being funneled into a foundation supporting black arts and mental health advocacy. What they found in his estate wasn't scandal, it was sacred intention, proof that he crafted a life of purposeful passion. Thank you for watching. If you found this video insightful, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you won't miss next video.